I love that. I love that. She says, as I age, she's going to take care of me.
Hi, I'm Dr. Duncan Pelly.
I'm Julia Hayden, aka Princess Gaia.
If this happens, I'm going to go forward with this, and because I have been blessed with such a huge gift.
Karen and Christian Light, welcome. Our international audience may be a little bit less familiar with who you are, so please introduce yourselves.
Well, I'd be happy to. My name is Karen Light, and I have been raised here in Abilene, Texas, where we're interviewing at McMurray University, and just so happy to be here. I am part of a family business, and it was a business that was founded by my dad. I have to give him all the credit, and he landed in Abilene because of Dyess Air Force Base. He was an Air Force navigator, fought in Korea and the Vietnam War, and he ended up retiring in the early 70s when I was in elementary school, and retiring here at Dyess Air Force Base. So towards the end of his career of 21 years, he got very interested in real estate. And so he began a career that has lasted him about 50 years now. He has been very active in our business that he founded for until he was actually 89. He's going to be 92 this next month. It's amazing.
Yes.
So a lot of experience there. And so way back in the day when I was becoming interested in what he was doing and wanting to spend some more time with him, really just craving that, wanting to be with him because he was all about his work. As my kids were going off to school and I was no longer at home raising them, I started working with him and had days with Dad, just working part-time as my youngest went off to kindergarten, and the business has grown from there.
So I'm Christian Light. I am her daughter, and together with her past experience just in real estate and everything, my grandpa has kind of invested in a salon. And so I'm a hairstylist. I have been for 6 years now, and we opened our salon. It's called Texas Root Salon and Spa, and we opened it a year ago this month. We're actually having our anniversary this week, so it's pretty exciting. And I have been doing hair for 6 years, so I started as an assistant. I went on and did booth rental for the next 4 years, and things kind of shifted, and my grandpa we were needing a new salon, and so he kind of just stepped up and was like, oh, I can help you with that. And so he did. He went out and found a place, and I looked at it, and we all were pretty excited. And in August, we started with just me, one stylist, and our vision for it is much larger. We have space for 18, and so a year later, we have 7. We have a barber, we have stylists, nail techs, and a spray tan girl, or tech, I should say. So it's been an exciting journey, and we're going to keep going with it.
Awesome. Yeah, so the idea of the salon was really it was in the hopes that it would really bless Christian in her chosen field of being a cosmetologist. And my dad is just so generous in his ideas. It's been a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it has been a blessing, something that's really...
it wouldn't have been possible without him, really. So
Yes, absolutely. We have rentals, and we have seller finance notes, and we have private money lending. Those are our 3 areas. That company is the company that we used to purchase the building for the salon, and then to remodel the salon and create this beautiful, just peaceful, very clean place. It's a great environment.
So my brother was a real estate agent at the time. He found the place, and then Grandpa looked at it, and it was like, okay, this is huge. This is like, I think my family has always had this dream for me to have my own salon, and I'm just going with it. I mean, as long as I'm doing hair, I'm happy. And so he definitely went big, and then it was like, okay, he invested, he did that part, and now we have to remodel it, but he didn't really understand that that was part of the deal. So that's when my mom and my Aunt Beth stepped up, and they took over, and they invested for the remodel. It was 2 or 3 months, I think, of just crazy remodeling and decision making, and my mom, she helped so much with that because I am not a big decision maker. I take time to make big decisions, and so she got the flooring going, and after that we got the paint, the walls going, and just so many things just kind of fell into place. But it was a lot of that was on her because I was doing hair, and so she really just kind of took over and stepped up, and it was crazy but very exciting.
Yes, and I love doing that with Christian's advice, because I didn't have the knowledge of what was needed to go into the salon. So that's why I relied on her a lot. Yeah. So as you can tell, though, we have all these different family members who have been involved in our business. Now, my husband and I also have another real estate company that he and I just run. And when I say that, I should say he allows me to run. And I love it that way, and he does too. This is how we really get along. He's busy with a full-time job as a school administrator, and so he lets me do that. It's like playing. Well, in the business with my dad and my sister, we have had my son also employed and his wife at one time. And, that's where we start talking about getting multi-generations. Like right now we're 3 generations, although Dad has kind of stepped out. It has its benefits and its disadvantages for sure. I think about the benefits of a family business is like, well, we work with family and you can trust them and you know them and you know their strengths and their weaknesses. And then when you ask about the disadvantages of your family business, it's because you work with family. And so what we have to deal with all the time, what I've dealt with my son and my daughter-in-law, with the family business portion, it's like when you start relating, many times you don't have the professional filter you would have with someone who is outside your family.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't have the consideration.
Right.
And so I learned some really hard lessons with my son and my daughter-in-law. And so it was, it's something that once situations have happened, you have to have a lot of focus on healing and forgiveness and understanding, because you're carrying on that relationship and family forever. Them, their children, the in-laws on her side of the family, all that type of thing. And so it's really been a challenge to overcome. And so, as you live, you learn. And as Christian and I stepped into the salon together, I really have tried to bear those things in mind to just have a very gentle approach and know the longevity of everything. And as we kind of shift our business plan, we were just talking about the business plan this morning. As we shift that plan, we're constantly trying to find that place where her skills are going to be used best, and where we can bring in others to fill in other gaps.
It's been interesting to see like what has happened with my mom's and my brother's relationship and their work situation. So learning, kind of like she said, learning from those instances, and really just putting boundaries in place and saying when we're in this meeting, we're going to talk about this and not hit you with something personal. We're talking about business right now. And so kind of just wearing those hats and seeing when things are and aren't appropriate. And then also just because I am a daughter and she is my mother, we have a relationship. And so that has all of 27 years, because that's how old I am now. So there's all the history with that. And so it's just working on making that better in the process too, and just always working on being positive and encouraging and all those good things, because we have to constantly do that. It takes the work. You can't just let it go. So, yeah, it's just all those pieces that are hard, but good.
Yes, it's just such constant learning. I think people do not realize when they start a business, you can't possibly know what all is going to be involved. So you try, right? You try to plan. I think the business plan is super important. And with our first real estate investment company, we didn't actually make a plan until about 7 years in. And then the plan was pretty easy because we were already doing all those things. And so you just are basically documenting what you're doing and making using some strategies to meet different goals, right? So that was not too difficult. When I did the business plan for Texas Roots Salon and Spa, I used a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And it was fantastic for just the exercise, primarily of sitting down and very thoroughly planning out some things you don't even know, but so some of it's just projection, but making a plan, thinking through and making a plan is so valuable. I think lots of times people either resist ever making that plan. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, that'd be Christian. Although now she's interested in the business plan, right? When you're in the middle of
we're
it.
getting going, and we're a year in now.
So that's kind of like, so you have to spend some time working on your business as you're involved and constantly working in your business. You have to take time out to work on your business. In fact, I have 3 days scheduled at the end of this week to just set goals. I'm going to do a goal-setting workshop from Ron Davis, who owns Distinctions for Life.
Yeah, that book is really good.
Very good, and more help than the book even. I read the book, but then David Cranfield, who lives here in town, is a Profit First professional coach.
Okay.
And so he has helped me with setting up my accounts to see how the cash flows. And so one of our conversations this morning, usually we have a little conversation on Monday when Christian is not.
A meeting.
Yes, we have a meeting when Christian is not involved in the salon cutting hair. It's a day off. The salon's closed. And that conversation about I'm allocating funds for the operating expense account. And so this is how we need to handle any supply expenses, So I think what I would say to budding entrepreneurs is, yes, make the business plan. Yes, figure out your market and your finances, and know that you're going to work.
Pieces. You have to have them to make it work.
Yeah, you have to know where your money is coming from and where it's going to go. But then it's knowing that you're going to work really, really hard and have crazy hours, and although they may be flexible, which is awesome, they're going to be crazy. And then knowing that you do have to just pull the trigger. You've got to go ahead and start. You can't just talk about it forever if you're one of those people who just loves the vision. Yes. You've got to go ahead and you've got to begin. So having timelines is really a great idea.
And it's also kind of going back to the family piece. It's really nice that she is really good at that side, because that is not my strength, and I am actually just really good behind the chair being a stylist. And so having someone that does look at the finances and do all the business and can print out pamphlets for me or just whatever we need at the salon, she is so helpful with all that. So it's wonderful to have someone help you, and I guess like who you know is very important in your contacts in getting your business going. So almost more important than what you know, because people can help you get that part, as you go. So
yes, having a business in Abilene, we have a great advantage. I know a lot of cities have this, but we have America's Small Business Development Center at Texas Tech here. And we did take advantage of that, didn't we?
Yes.
As we were getting into the salon, again, it was a kind of a different type of business for me. I hadn't done retail before. They were a lot of help. We went to multiple people at the Small Business Development Center, and they helped with business plan, they helped with HR, they helped
Yes.
with a number of things.
And they can kind of help with whatever you ask from them, whatever you're needing in business. And they're a free service.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they're free.
It was like, this is a no-brainer. If I can get free advice, I mean, not that sometimes it's worth paying for advice, you know, but we're always just learning with entrepreneuring, and so that was an interesting time. She really is someone that will, if we have an issue come up, she's going to chase after it and find a solution.
One of the advantages of being in Abilene is that there's a few advantages. First of all, we have a fantastic Chamber of Commerce that is really active. And like during the coronavirus this year, 2020, they put out updates from the beginning, daily updates about what was happening in Abilene, what was happening in Texas, what Governor Abbott was putting out for the state. It was something that I really relied on. When it came to the PPP, which we did, the Payroll Protection Program, we did that. That was really initiated. So much of that information came from the Chamber of Commerce. And Doug Peters is our CEO right now for the Chamber, and he is just so proactive, wonderful.
Yeah.
So a lot of networking through the Chamber. And then we've done networking through Mike Worth's Entrepreneur Lunches and his programs that he does. But my contacts with David Cranfield has been through that group. With Ron Davis has been through that group. I'm also part of a mastermind group that is smaller, and you can really pinpoint people's talents and what they're doing with their businesses and talk a lot of strategy there. So this is everything for me has been such a growth to do marketing, social media, involved in the salon, because in real estate investing, it's what I call a quiet business, in that it doesn't require so many of those things. It's really word of mouth. But the networking, knowing people, having been raised here, Christian was raised here, I was raised here, having long-term relationships through outside organizations, church affiliations, different groups and clubs that we've been involved in, they are just huge when it comes to doing business in a town.
That's something that I would like to piggyback on, because honestly, so I've been here doing hair for 6 years now, and my business would not have flourished the way that it did. And my hair career journey kind of, after that first year of being an assistant, I was renting a booth, and so I started building my clientele, which, if you are interested in being a stylist or something similar where you kind of contract out your services, you have to start somewhere. And word of mouth is huge. And in a small town like this, it was really so easy. I actually was able to build my clientele in the first year. And I wasn't just doing hair, I was doing eyelash extensions and some other things. So that helped, having different services to offer. But I actually stopped doing eyelash extensions about, I don't know if it was about 2 years. And after starting them, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head right now, but I started that, and that got my business going, and that was a good money maker. But then I stopped and was focusing more just on hair, and so I was able to build a clientele, and then I kind of hurt myself and stopped doing a service, and then I had to build it back up again. And so having parents that are super involved in the community, and my dad's a superintendent at one of the schools here, and we have a huge church family, just so many people that I know and that have known me since I was little. It's made it extremely easy. I still worked my way into it, I still put in all the hours and everything, but it made it that much more easy to build a business, and I did it twice.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
you know, those connections are huge. And then, of course, if you don't have those connections, social media nowadays is just as important, if not more. And honestly, when we ask people, when they come into the salon and we ask them where they heard about us, they usually say from Google, just from our Yelp listing or our Google listing, just from searching different search engines, we come up, we're one of the top salons. And so, and there's good reviews on us and all that kind of stuff. And so that is so helpful.
Yeah, that has been a blessing. And so you can see from listening to Christian talk that she excels in building clientele, and she loves what she does. And so one place where we're kind of thinking of using her talents in the salon is as a mentor, as a coach for new stylists. And so she's done that. It's one of those things that you have to work in with your own clientele. And so we try to have her do that one stylist at a time and bring them to a certain point, and then bring in another and bring them to a certain point, and just build that way. So she's an encourager, and especially in the salon, that's really a strength of hers. Just being there, monitoring things, and she's a peacekeeper. So we are a no drama salon.
We love that. We have just a wonderful group right now too. We had, let's see, 4 of us from before COVID. And then post-COVID and throughout COVID, when we were closed for 6 weeks during COVID, and when we opened back up, we got ourselves, we brought on a new barber, and he has been just awesome and just very like-minded in growing his business and trying to be better as a stylist, as a barber. And then we gained another stylist after him too. So it's been interesting because I personally thought like COVID would kind of slow that down a little bit, slow our growth of bringing people on, and it has not. So it's been fun, but our group is just very easy to get along with. We all help out, and they help take out the trash and do those little things that just make it go very smoothly and make all of our lives easier. So as far as the salon goes, my preface to Texas Roots was I have to comment and say some things about where I was at before, because that's really where I get how I treat everyone that works with me at the salon. We were at the other salon, was called The Cut Above, and there were 4 of us ladies there. The manager was kind of like a grandmother or a mother figure to me, and she just helped grow me as a stylist and as a person during those 4 years. And then there was a couple of people that came and go, other stylists that came and go during that time, but the last 4 that were with us before we had to close, in that there was another girl that was about 10 years older than me, so she was kind of like a sister, and she had kids, and we would do stuff with her family, and with the other ladies' families as well, and we all just loved each other so much. And so we even still do like lunches occasionally just to check up on each other. And so that was really like the big preface to where we are now. And I didn't want, being in a larger place with more people, I didn't want it to be somewhere where people just come and go. I want it to be a place where they can grow, and that we show them that we're genuinely interested in their lives, and helping them be better as a stylist and a person, and just all of that. It all is involved, and we kind of we did a little bit of work on the front end with this as far as like our mission statement, and just saying that we really wanted it to be like a family-oriented, godly centered place, just with the atmosphere and the energy there. We just want to all help each other out and bring each other further along to that next point in life.
Being an owner, stepping back a step, and I'm not there all the time. I go in for certain things. Many times I go for the professional development. It's a little, I look at it as these people are growing businesses. They are entrepreneurs in our building. They're renting space from us. And so with that, we want them to have the very best business they can have. And so however we can help them, if it's Christian mentoring them, if it's the professional development of being very business-minded and saying, we as a business have this mission, and then as we're going over that with them, what is your mission? Because you have a business. What's your mission? Talking about how we have a certain culture in the salon. What's the culture you want to have with your clients?
Right.
Just
Exactly.
all this, we relate what we're doing with the larger business to growing their business and trying to make their business very successful. Because that's what they want the flexibility to set the hours when they choose. We make it really easy for them to work whenever they have something scheduled. We have normal hours, but
Very
then
flexible.
we have a punch code door where they can come and go. And they are totally in charge of their business, and they are so respectful.
Yes. I think that when
Definitely.
you give people the freedom to grow and use your space like that, they have just all been awesome and very honest, and not everyone is going to be like that, but we have just, I guess that speaks to our group right now. We just are, it's an awesome group, and we can trust them, and it's working very well. So
Then just thinking of other things of why we love business here in Abilene, Texas, is because Texas does not have any income tax.
Yeah.
Some states have income tax. Oregon is 9.9%. Last year it was 9.9%. Can you imagine?
I
Yeah, and so we have no income tax. So in our real estate investment companies, our largest expense is tax, because we pay income tax and property tax. And then being in Texas, the whole mystique that goes around Texas, we ride our horses to the salon every day, right? So we don't do those things, but Texas kind of has that pioneer spirit, and something that we don't deal with is a lot of regulation.
I think something she said earlier is just you got to get started. That is the hardest part. And some of the other stuff that you don't know that you're going to encounter, you'll encounter it later and you'll figure it out. And as long as you have, I've been so blessed with my family, my grandpa being an investor, and my mom helping with the managing side, and just all of that. But so it's wonderful to have a good support system, I guess I should say. But you just got to get going, got to get started. That's the biggest thing. And then, I think sometimes we get shut down. If someone has a certain business idea and they may get shut down a couple of times, maybe take it to a different group of people and see if they have, maybe if they're more like-minded, or if they see the value in your idea. So, anyways.
Sometimes it's just a little tweak in that idea. Another thing that an entrepreneur has to think about is, so I take the advice of people who suggest books to me. I read The One Thing. This is something I brought to the stylist as a professional development. The One Thing. The One Thing is a book by, I think one of the authors, there's two authors. I think one of the authors is Gary Keller, and the other is Jay Papasan, I believe. And it is identifying the one thing that must be done. So it's kind of a social science book about human behavior and entrepreneurial behavior. But it really has helped me. It's like when she says something comes up and I'm chasing after it, I am. And you get that thing that has to be completed today, and then you can do some other things. But today we're interviewing. This is the one thing that's going to be done today. So there's just a lot of things that go into business. As you're doing all this, the idea of franchises always comes up. And so I think I would advise anyone who starts any business to work it as if it's going to be a franchise.
There's lots of wisdom in that statement because I do not work my business as if it's going to be a franchise because it's all around what I can do for people. And so when you're building your business, listen to that. You should say it one more time.
Yeah, so you want to build it like it's going to be reproduced. And in order to be reproduced, you have to have things documented. You have to have procedures. You've got
So
to
important.
have it written down, how you do things. Or if
And systems in place.
systems, it's about systems. That's the word. Yeah, it really is.
It was a challenge because she didn't just know some of those things in like the day-to-day life of how that works.
Right. For example, in the rent world, in the real estate rent world,
Oh my gosh, this is
you
I know what she's
you
gonna
pay
say.
rent a month in advance, right? So here we are starting September soon, and so the rent payments come in by September 1st for the month of September, right? Well, in the beauty world, they pay a week in arrears.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Pay a week after.
what? They're not paying in advance? You know, it's how do you, what do you mean? Well, in the beauty world, you earn the money and then you pay for the week. It's just different. And so it took me a little while to wrap my mind around that, and Christian says, no, mother.
She really was trying to work a program to where we could get people to pay either like a month or 2 weeks or whatever in advance, just whatever they were comfortable with. And I had to tell her, and my grandpa actually, so some of the things that are ideas that she comes to me with are actually coming from my grandpa. Just because he's done a lot of the real estate stuff and he's our biggest investor. He wants to be heard with some of that stuff, which I understand completely. But it was funny because he was like, you mean they don't pay rent before? Like, he was just so floored by it. It was hilarious. So I really had to work with them on just that single idea. It's like, no, we make our money every day, every haircut, you know, and so then we can pay it. And a lot of stylists, they're paying for not just their rent, but the color that they use and the all their shears and clippers and combs. I mean, just everything. In a booth rent situation, we have to supply all that we use, except for the space. And so a lot of people don't have just all this money coming into it. And so, yeah,
Yes.
it's been interesting.
Well, and I think another thing that has really helped our salon is that we have had people who manage their money. Christian is exceptional in managing her income.
Well, and I have a good background. I've been taught how to do that. But a lot of people have kids or they're single moms or, you know, just life comes up and they haven't planned out. Or they're 20 and they are just figuring it out. Like, they didn't go to college and this is their first experience out on their own. And so they're figuring out how to pay their bills and how to go grocery shopping and all these things.
You know, I think some obstacles that I had were they may have been kind of gender related, because what I have to work on in myself is to make logical decisions instead of emotional decisions, which I think as a female I might be more disposed to make an emotional decision. So that, and then well, I guess maybe that is what sticks out in my mind, is that I've got to make those logical decisions. So I try to just separate myself sometimes from the situation and be very logical, looking at numbers, looking at projections. But I think an advantage that I've had is that I have a business degree. I have a bachelor's in business and a master's in education. And with that, I have taught some, and with that you become, and I don't know if every teacher is organized, I have become more organized as I do that, more goal-oriented. And then another strength I think is networking. And so Well, and then also something I have to watch in myself is not to be a people pleaser, which I think also may be a feminine trait.
Some, yes.
Somewhat, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so making those hard decisions is hard for me, right? But I'll see myself swerving, getting into the wrong space because I want to please people. And I have to be very careful about that. Yeah.
And I don't know that I really encountered any disadvantages with my job, just because a lot of stylists are women. I mean, there's definitely male stylists, male barbers, and women barbers. But I really think it's been an advantage in a lot of ways, because I have a lot of, kind of my personality. When people come to get a service from me, they experience who I am during that time. And I am naturally, being a female, I'm naturally just like kind of, and I don't know if this is a female trait, I don't want to make that gender specific, but I'm kind of nurturing and caring in a way. And it's their time to just relax and be taken care of. It's kind of their time to experience counseling if that's what they need, just whatever. I'm an open ear, and a lot of times it goes both ways. Sometimes I'm the one that needs counseling, and they're just seeing what's going on in my life. And so sometimes I provide stories or excitement, or, who knows. But in a way, I think I have about 50% of my clientele is men, and I would say, like, some of them are more father figures to me, and some of them I've grown up with, and then some of them I'm sure are just guys that like to be around a young person, and it doesn't help if you're pretty, I don't mean that in any sort of way, but a lot of our stylists, their clients are just attracted to them in that way, and not like anything further than that, but they just like to be around you, So
You get to choose your stylist.
yes, you do. And we've had some interesting stories with that, but there's a lot of our clients say, oh yes, this girl, like so and so, she's so cute and adorable, I want to go to her, so in a way it's good to be a woman, because I am able to fulfill that role of taking care of them and that kind of stuff. But I don't know how it would be to be a man in my position, because I'm not one. But
Counseling, right? Counseling in the chair, therapy in the hair chair. We had a professional development by Paul Pottinger.
Yes, so good.
About active listening. And it was really, really good. Just the idea being that you are having one-on-one time with a person when you are they're having a service done. And it's a really important place to be, to have your wits about you and know that if there are feelings expressed that are red flags, then that's when you turn on the active listening, and it's like an active letting them know, I am now listening to you, and what you say is very important to me, and then also having a place where if this is reached, if it comes to this part, then you need to go a step further and encourage or suggest some help for that person. So the active listening was really interesting. The stylists loved it because they're so much people. They're people persons, and that they love their clients. That's what their business is based on, making that client smile and doing the service that they've requested.
And that is a skill, as a stylist, that's extremely important, just to provide that quality of service, and they know they're getting that quality of a person as a stylist. But that's just important for daily life, in any relationship. And that's what we're made for. We're made for relationships as people. Yes. And so everyone can use that skill. Whether it's with their family or their marriage or their kids, or, just whatever relationship they've got going.
Has your faith in any way influenced your decisions to be entrepreneurs, decisions along the way, or any combination of that?
Yes.
Yes.
Hugely. Because it's a big part of who we are. So my parents have 6 kids, and we have grown up in a very faith-based home and been involved in church, and it's just been a huge part of our foundations. And it's been a blessing now being an adult, looking back on that. Sometimes whenever you're a kid, being made to go all the time, you don't want to. But it's definitely been a huge, just an advantage, I would say. And I kind of mentioned earlier, it has impacted how we made our mission statement, and kind of just the atmosphere of very caring and loving, open place that we want to provide for our stylists and our renters. And I think that is one of the biggest parts of because it's so much of who we are. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely say ditto and second that. And I just think, with a daily faith walk, it influences every aspect of your life. So when I go all the way back to my decision to stay home with my children, the decision my husband and I made, that was a faith-based decision. Surviving on one income with 6 kids. And then later when I decided to start working with my dad, that was a faith-based decision in that it was about relationship with him. About sharing that part of my life with him. So if your life is influenced by your faith, then your work is too, right? So influencing and sharing my faith with my dad in a closer relationship through work also. And so then as we worked more and more together, because we started out very part-time, so I still had children at home, but the very youngest one was going to kindergarten. So I had a little more time. Well, then as that grew into more and more time together, my dad and I are very close. So now my mother is deceased, and my dad lives down the street, and he comes, we see him daily for dinner, and it's just, we've built a strong relationship, even though we have had differences over the years, especially business differences. We have built a strong relationship. And so family is very important. It kind of feeds off of that faith life. My sister is across the street from us, so we double team my dad with things that come up as you turn 92, right? And so we have a very close-knit family, even though we've had some difficulties that have stemmed from our business. As it came to opening the salon, that was also a way to bless Christian. Yes. So it was a faith-based decision also. So yeah, I think we still operate with that same foundation as we go forward.
Yeah, and when faith is a big part of your life, it's kind of like, for me, it's where I turn to when I have big decisions to make. In the part of, is this the path that I need to be on? Is this the decision that I need to make? And so whenever my prayer at the time was like, okay, God, if this happens, I will step up and do what I need to do. It's going to take a lot of work, and I don't necessarily want to do it, because I could just rent a station at another salon instead of, it's a lot more extra behind the scenes, and she's taken a lot of that off of my plate, but still, there's so much just daily in the salon, taking out the trash and making sure everyone's customers are happy, not just yours. And just all these things that you don't think about.
If you could do anything over, with total 20/20 hindsight, knowing everything you know now, is there anything you do over or do differently?
You go first.
Yeah, when I talk about relationships, that's that's where I would have had some different approaches. Because, you know, in hindsight, it's like, okay, healing on the backside of a bad decision takes so much forgiveness, understanding, right? It's easier not to make that mistake to begin with. And so I think where I failed in my relationship was not making hard decisions, trying to be a people pleaser, and making emotional decisions instead of making hard decisions, right? And so that's where I have to just say, gosh, I am so imperfect. And you know, as I look back on that, you hate that it has done any damage, but you try to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, learn, don't make the same mistake again.
And I don't know that I have a whole lot that I would do different. I am kind of just very much an artistic person, and so I'm not a huge planner. She does a lot of that.
She has so many customers that she works these long hours because she just has so many people who come to her, and so what's the logical thing to do? If you have too many, then, and you love them all, and you can't tell any of them no, right? I mean, they're needing you, you are their stylist, then you raise your prices, and there's a natural weeding out that happens.
Yes, and so she's got the business mind, obviously. And so taking advice from her and I guess standing up for yourself as a young person, as a woman, in business, you have to, because if you don't, people will walk all over you. You've got to being a stylist, I have customers that text me weekends, late nights. I have to set boundaries so that I can have a personal life outside of that. And if I don't, nobody else is going to do it for me. And so you've got to be the one to step up to the plate. And so that was one of the hardest things, being such a flexible business, and giving, like how we give our stylists the opportunity to come work outside of hours if need be. That's great, but if you're a workaholic and you love to please people, you've got to have those boundaries in place. So that's another thing that probably would have changed before now.
Yeah.
So, it's never too late.